Yo, it's Ray. Have you ever looked at a 100-hour JRPG and think to yourself, this is great, but what if I also had to manage a part-time job and study for a biology exam while also trying to make a weird pact with a sketchy doctor to get deals off of medicine to use obviously in another world? No? Just me? Well, apparently just me and about 22 million other people. But how did we get here? How did a spin-off of a spin-off about teenage angst become the crown jewel of the JRPG genre? Enter Persona. The only series brave enough to ask, what if Pokemon was actually about your deep-seated psychological trauma and you also had to pass a math midterm? A franchise that's half social simulator, half dungeon crawler, and 100% the reason I haven't seen the sun in 3 weeks. Like, look at this. Look at the style. The menus have more personality than my entire extended family. You're telling me I'm playing a turn-based RPG? I thought I was watching a high-budget heist movie where the main weapon is friendship and a literal cat tells me to go to bed. 5 out of 5 stars for the cat alone. Before we talk about the demons, the dating, or the high-stakes high school dramas, we have to talk about the system. Because on paper, Persona shouldn't work. It's a 100-hour game that asks you to manage a calendar, a social life, and a paramilitary dungeon crawling operation. It's like if The Sims had a midlife crisis and bought a grenade launcher just in case. I've never understood how Atlas turned time management into the most addictive substance known to man. It's a tres leches cake of psychological warfare. Layer 1, the combat. Here's the easiest way I can put it. They use a one more system. It's simple. You hit an enemy's weakness, you get to go again. You hit another weakness, you go again. Look at this. Fire, boom, ice, boom. I'm playing a JRPG, but it feels like it's a rhythm game where the beat is total annihilation. I haven't let the enemy take a breath. In 3 minutes, I'm basically a bully in a tuxedo. But here's the catch. The enemy can do it to you too. If a floating table hits your weakness, it gets an extra turn. Then it hits your friend. Then it hits your cat. Suddenly, you're looking at a game over screen because you forgot to equip the specific earring. It's the high stakes poker of turn-based combat. One mistake, the house wins.
Stop now. 17 black. You can stop. Stop. Jiggle.
The house always has the edge, Roy. The house is edging. Fuck Vegas.
Layer 2, the calendar. This is what separates the man from the Shin Megami Tensei protagonist. Every day in Persona is a resource. You have an afternoon and an evening. Decisions. Do I want to go to the library to increase my knowledge so I don't fail my finals? Or do I want to spend time with the creepy guy at the arcade so my fire demon gets a 5% damage boost? It's a constant state of productive guilt. You're always worried you're wasting time, but that's the hook. Every second matters. You aren't just playing a game, you're living a schedule. It's the only game that makes me feel bad for sleeping both in real life and in game. And finally, layer 3, the moist layer, the social link, the confidant. This is the genius part. Atlas took a dating sim and realized, what if we made it so that your stats also get buffed while you're hanging out with a hot babe? I'm hanging out with this guy named Kanji. He likes knitting. I like knitting. We're best friends now. Suddenly, my persona transformed into a giant robot with a shield. Why? Because we had a tea. Friendship is literally power. If I ignore my friends, I'm weak. If I'm a social butterfly, I'm a god. It's the ultimate extrovert simulator for introverts. Hey, I know I look crazy, but hear me out. I've been talking to this plant, right? And the plant told me that sunlight and water are the two most important things. I told him no, joke's on you, Persona is. Right? Why are you, what's going on? Are you not listening, bro? Like, what's going on? Hey, hello? Hello? Is this thing on? Are you not hearing me? But why do we actually like this? Why has this system lasted 30 years? Because it's based on Carl Jung's analytical psychology. The persona is the mask you wear for society. The shadow is the part of yourself you hide. The game isn't just about killing monsters, it's about accepting the parts of yourself you hate. When a character awakens their persona, they aren't finding a weapon, they're finding themselves. It's deep, it's meaningful, and it's the perfect excuse for why I haven't called my my parents in 3 weeks. And we can't forget about the Velvet Room. This is the admin phase. This is where you take your demons and smash them together to make better demons. Okay, I'm taking this pixie and I'm mixing it with a giant bird. What do I get? A slightly more depressed pixie with a gun. Perfect, put it on my team. Igor, you're a genius. Your nose is huge, but your brain is humongous. So all these layers are the mechanical meat of Persona. Its loop of talk to friends, make better monsters, bully demons with their weaknesses, and panic about the date. It's a cycle that shouldn't work, but it's so finely tuned that by the time you reach the 80-hour mark, you aren't playing a game anymore. You're playing and protecting your home. Now, how did we get here? To answer that, we have to go back to 1996 and a very gray hallway. Before we had a flashy UI and dating sims, we had Megami Ibunroku Persona, or more commonly known as Revelations Persona. It was a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei, which is basically Pokemon if you find the Bible to be too optimistic. When this game came to the West, Atlas went a little overboard. They wanted it to feel relatable to American teens, so naturally they changed the names, locations, and most famously they changed a character's entire ethnicity just because they thought it would fit the vibe. It's like if Friends was localized for Japan and they made Joey a professional sumo wrestler. It's the same show, but everyone is very confused. They even changed the music. The OG was atmospheric and creepy, which every fan liked, but the PSP remake replaced it with J-pop? It's like playing The Last of Us, but in the background, all you hear is soda pop. This game also introduces Butterfly Man. He's the original Igor, but he's way more mysterious and less nose heavy. Okay, so I'm in a fight. Do I slash him with my sword? No. Do I shoot him with my Glock? No. I'm going to seduce him. Look at my guy go. He's doing a little wiggle. The demon is impressed. He's so impressed, he gave me a piece of paper and left. 10 out of 10. The best dating sim in 1996. The negotiation system was a chaotic mess of dance, threaten, and praise. You weren't just fighting. You were trying to manage the ego of a literal mythological deity who is also a grumpy teenager. Here's a little fun fact for you. What most people don't realize is that Persona 1 actually had two completely different storylines. You had the Sebek route, which is one everyone knows, and then there was the Snow Queen quest. The Snow Queen quest was so difficult and so Japan only, at first it became the stuff of legends. It turned the game into a hardcore survival horror experience. It proved that even in its infancy, Persona didn't just want to be a JRPG. It wanted to be an experience that made you regret your life choices. Now, calling this a Persona game by today's standards is like calling a pile of raw flour a birthday cake. The ingredients are there, but man, it's a dry experience. Back then, there was no calendar, no social links, just high schoolers, demons, and enough first-person dungeon crawlers to make you physically ill. I just want to go to the nurse's office. It was gritty, it was weird, and it paved the way for the greatest pivot in gaming history. If Persona 1 was the awkward first date, Persona 2 was the moment the date turned into a 48-hour fever dream, where you accidentally joined a cult. Yes, I didn't stutter. This isn't just one game. It's a duology. Innocent Sin, where the kids have the power, and Eternal Punishment, where the adults take over. Okay, so the main mechanic in this game isn't fighting. It's gossip. I'm talking to the lady at the ramen shop. I tell her a rumor that they sell secret weapons under the counter. Poof, now they sell secret weapons under the counter. If I tell everyone the sky is neon pink, the sky turns neon pink. This isn't just a game. It's literally Twitter gaslighting, but in 1999. Persona 2 did something no JRPG has done since rumors became reality. In most games, you buy a sword from a shop. In Persona 2, you create the shop by spreading a lie. It turned the entire world into a sandbox of your own imagination. It was the first game to treat information as a weapon more powerful than a fire spell. Now, the Eternal Punishment side of Persona is where you play as adults. Maya Amano is a journalist. Bofu is a jaded hacker. You aren't really worried about midterms. You're worried about corruption, trauma, and the literal fabric of reality tearing apart. Modern Persona is so obsessed with the high school fantasy. Persona 2 was the last time the series series was brave enough to ask, what happens when the teenagers grow up and the world is still a nightmare? Alright, we have to talk about what everybody's here for. The final boss in Innocent Sin is, the Great Father. But he looks like a certain German dictator from the 1940s. Look at this guy, he's wearing aviators, he's got the mustache, he's holding the Spear of Destiny. This is the most 90s anime thing I have ever seen in my life. Atlus was so scared of this that they didn't bring the original game to the West for 12 years. They literally looked at the game and said, yeah, the world isn't ready for Sunglass Hitler. Put it in the vault. While Persona 3 gets all the credit for the social link aspect, Persona 2 invented character interaction. When you're contacting demons, you can have your entire team basically talk to a demon at once. Maya could give them a full pep talk, while Akechi could play his guitar, I guess. I do want to talk about the Persona designs. This was the first time we saw the iconic Kaneko style in full force. Designs that weren't just monsters, but psychological representations of the character's inner demon. Here are some fun facts about Persona 2. Did you know that the protagonist for Persona 2, Tatsuya, can make motorcycle sounds, and it's technically one of his only skills, and it's canon. This game is the only game in the series where everyone can swap their personas freely. In modern games, only the wild card, which is you, can do that. Back then, everyone was a god. This game also has an Avengers Endgame type of moment, where the Persona 1 cast also shows up as adults. The game's story also tackles heavy LGBTQ+ themes way back in 1999, before most media was even touching the subject. With the facts out of the way, Persona 2 was too big for its time. It was dark, it was weird, and it featured a literal conspiracy theory come to life. But it also bankrupted the team. Well, almost. Because it was too ambitious. So, for the next game, they decided to simplify at least one aspect. They decided to make it blue. It's 2006, Atlus is in a weird spot. Persona 2 was a masterpiece that nobody bought, and the JRPG genre is starting to feel like a stale piece of bread. Then, a man named Katsura Hashino takes the wheel and says, what if we made the game blue, added a dating sim, and made the characters summon their powers by, well, let's just say in a creative way. In any other context, this would be a cry out for help. In Persona 3, this is basically how I cast my Agi. Persona 3 didn't just save the series, it redefined what a modern JRPG could be. It introduced social links, the calendar, and the most catchy, soul-crushing soundtrack in gaming history. Persona 3 has a version problem. For the last 20 years, people have been trying to figure out which version to play. There's Persona 3 FES, there's Persona 3 Portable, which is the one that's most commonly in every single store, and there's Persona 3 Reload, which recently came out. And they all have a different caveat. Persona 3 FES has the answer, Persona 3 Portable has the female protagonist, and Persona 3 Reload has technically the answer, but for $30 plus the $70 game, it's up to you what you want. Look at this. This is the answer. It's an epilogue. Does it answer the questions? Sure. But it also makes you fight the same 3 bosses for 40 hours and everyone is crying. You may be wondering, why are they crying? Because the ending of the game was perfect and Atlus said, wait, we can make it even more depressing if we try. 5 out of 5 stars for the emotional damage. The drama with FES was real. It split the community. Then for a decade, Atlus refused to combine the versions. If you wanted the FemC, you lost the 3D cutscenes. If you wanted the 3D world, you lost the better combat controls. It was the ultimate Atlus moment. Then there's Tartarus, a 264 floor randomly generated tower of pain. People love to complain about Tartarus, and they're right. It's repetitive, it's long, and the music, while a banger, will be burned into your frontal lobe by floor 50. But that was the point. Persona 3 is a game about the grind of school, the grind of grief, the grind of life. You're climbing towards an inevitable end. And then came Reload. This was the in case of emergency break glass remake. It finally fixed the inability to control your party members issue from the original. Yeah. In 2006, your teammates were controlled by a drunk AI who loved using Marin Karin when the boss was immune to it. Mitsuru, sweetheart, he's a giant shadow priest. He doesn't want to go on a date with you. He wants to kill us. Use Blizzard. Please, I'm begging you. Reload brought the graphics and the link episodes, making the male party members actually feel like friends instead of just co-workers. But even Reload had drama. Know the answer at launch, no female protagonists at launch. The cycle of Persona 3 fans being slightly annoyed continued until the DLC came out and some of them opened their wallets anyway. At its core, Persona 3 is why the series is popular. It wasn't just a game, it was a vibe. It was the emo era of gaming done right. It taught a generation of players that death was inevitable, so you'd better make sure you spend your Tuesdays eating ramen with the track team. It was the most meaningful game in the trilogy. It's the one that sticks with you. It's the one that makes you stare at the ceiling for 3 hours after the credits roll. But if we're talking about why Persona 3 is a masterpiece, and I mean a stare at the wall for 4 hours after the end credit masterpiece, we have to talk about a guy who doesn't have a weapon. He doesn't have a cool mask. He doesn't even have a combat theme. His name is Akinari Kamiki, and he is the Sun social link. Look at this guy. He's sitting on a bench. He looks like he hasn't slept since the PS2 launched. You meet him on Sundays while everyone else is going to the mall or fighting shadows. You just sit here and you talk. And you realize very quickly that this isn't a normal quest. This is a countdown. Akinari is terminally ill.
Damn it. What did I do to deserve this body?
He knows he's dying. In most games, a character like this is just a fetch quest or a sob story. But in Persona 3, Akinari is the personification of the game's entire philosophy. Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. He spends his final weeks writing a story about a pink alligator and a bird. It's a metaphor for his own existence, something strange and out of place that just wants to know if its life meant anything. What makes this so intricate is that Akinari is the only social link that automatically breaks if you don't finish it by a certain date, because he literally runs out of time.
I finished my story and wanted to show it to you. I was having a lot of trouble with the ending, but I finally figured it out. After the alligator ate his friend, the bird, he cried and cried for a long time. In fact, he was so sad that he drowned in his own tears. His tears became a sparkling lake, around which grew beautiful flowers, and a tree that bore delicious fruit. The other animals in the forest came there often to relax, but none of them knew the alligator had created it, or that he was gone.
When you hit rank 10, he disappears. He leaves you the finished book, and then on the final day of the game, you meet his mother at the shrine. She tells you that because of you, he died with a smile on his face.
I'm glad I could finally meet you. Thank you. Before I go, let this old woman give you one piece of advice. Take good care of the ones you hold dear. If you wait until their day comes, it's too late. Clinging to their cold bodies won't bring them back. Everyone who's born will die someday. Not just Akinari, or me, or even you. It's all the same. So before that happens, it doesn't take a grand gesture. You don't have to make a big production of it. But if you love someone, let them know it.
She thanks you for giving him a reason to finish his story. In a game where you're literally shooting yourself in the head to summon demons and fighting a giant moon god to save the world, the most powerful moment is just a mom thanking a teenager for being a friend to her son. And that's the Persona magic. It takes these massive world-ending stakes and shrinks them down to the size of a park bench. It makes the grind worth it because you aren't just leveling up a strength stat. You're carrying Akinari's story to the end of the world. Anyway, that was incredibly depressing. Who's ready to go to the countryside and solve a murder mystery while talking to a bear. Pack your bags, we're going to Inaba. If Persona 3 was a funeral, Persona 4 is a high energy wake where everyone gets drunk and solves murder mysteries. We've traded the urban gloom of Tatsumi Port Island for the rural, foggy, nothing ever happens here, quote unquote, town of Inaba. And by nothing happens, I mean people are being hung from telephone poles and the only way to save them is to jump inside of a Sony Trinitron and fight a giant shadow version of your own teenage insecurities. You know, Tuesday stuff. Look at this crew. You got the main character who is so cool, he doesn't even need a personality. You got Yosuke, the guy who lives in a trash can. You got Shie, who's 90% leg and 10% steak. And then there's Kanji. Look at him. He's a thug. He's a delinquent. He's knitting a doll. He's the best character in the game. 10 out of 10. Give him a spin-off. This is why Persona 4 didn't die. The investigation team isn't just a party. They're arguably the best written group of friends in an RPG history. In Persona 3, you were co-workers. In Persona 5, you were a heist crew. But in Persona 4, you're just kids hanging out at a food court trying not to die. You had Yuri Lowenthal as Yosuke, Troy Baker and Matthew Mercer sharing Kanji, Laura Bailey as Rize, Johnny Youngbosch pulling a double duty as hero and villain. The delivery in this game is legendary. When these characters cry, you feel like your actual best friend is hurting. It's the reason we stayed for 100 hours. We didn't want to leave them. Atlas realized they struck gold, so they proceeded to milk Persona 4 until the cow was literally asking for a break. We had Persona 4 Arena, a fighting game by Arc System Works that is actually really good. Persona 4 Dancing All Night, a rhythm game where the plot is I have to dance to stop a demon. It's 2026 now. The Persona 4 revival is the talk of the town. Whether it's a long rumored Reload style remake or a complete reimagining, why is everyone so hyped for a game from 2008? Well, it's because Persona 4 is the game that skyrocketed the series into stardom. It moved from the dying PS2 to the PS Vita with Persona 4 Golden, and suddenly every person with a handheld was obsessed. It was the system seller for a system that desperately needed one. It took a niche series about psychology and turned it into a global brand. Now you're a detective. You gotta talk to the guy at the gas station. You gotta talk to the lady with the dog. You're looking for a killer. And the killer is it the Cabbage guy? It's always the Cabbage guy. Don't trust people who like Cabbage that much. The investigation aspect changed the JRPG formula. You weren't just following a linear path. You were trying to solve a puzzle. And the truth wasn't just about who the killer was. It was about facing the shadow inside yourself. Persona 4 asks, can you accept the version of yourself you're ashamed of? It's a game about the ugly truth versus the convenient lie. And in a world of social media and fake personas, that message hits harder in 2026 than it did in 2008. While you're out there fighting literal manifestations of human ego, you have to go home. And home is the Dojima residence. It's a place of quiet dinners, awkward silences, and a refrigerator that contains more unidentifiable matter than a science lab. Like, goddamn, they must have the T virus in that fridge. Every time I eat something in there, I knock out. Ryotaro Dojima is a detective who can solve any crime in Inaba, except for the one happening in his own living room. The fact is, he has no idea how to talk to his own daughter. Look at this guy, he's the top cop in town. He's got the badge, he's got the cigarette, he's got the I haven't slept since the 90s eyes. And then you have Nanako. She's 6 years old, she does the laundry, she does the grocery shopping. She basically runs the house while this guy is out chasing a cabbage salesman. Honestly, 5 out of 5 stars for child labor, I guess. Nanako is the emotional core of Persona 4. If anything happens to her, the fanbase will and has turned into a literal riot. Her catchphrase isn't some cool battle cry, it's a jingle for a department store.
Every day's great at your Junes. Every day's great at your Junes.
Stop. Look at her. She's singing the song. She's doing the dance. If you don't like Nanako, you're not a human. You're a shadow. You're a piece of cardboard. Get out of here. But why is she singing it? Because Junes is the only place that feels like family. When her dad is at the station, it's depressing. Why is this game so bright and yellow when everything is so sad? The Dojima social link is arguably the most important one in this game, and it's not even with a party member. It tackles grief. Dojima isn't avoiding Nanako because he's a bad guy. He's avoiding her because she looks exactly like his late wife. He's using his job as a shield. He thinks that if he catches the killer who hit his wife years ago, the pain will go away.
Hey, Dad, can we go to Junes together sometime?
But all he's doing is letting his daughter grow up in a house where the only conversation is, "Did you eat?" and "I'm going back to the office." When you finally bridge that gap, when Dojima realizes that he doesn't need to be a detective, he just needs to be a dad, it's more satisfying than any boss fight in the game.
I don't really get it, but it makes me happy.
You aren't saving the world, you're saving a dinner table. This is why Persona 4 didn't die. This is why it skyrocketed the series into stardom. It took the world-ending stakes of Persona 3 and realized that for most people, the world ending isn't as scary as losing your family. We don't play Persona 4 for the murder mystery. We play it because we want to see Nanako smile. We play it because we want to see Dojima finally come home for dinner. It's the emotional anchor that keeps the 100-hour grind from feeling like a chore. Persona 4 is the heart of the series. It's the one we turn to when we want to feel like we're home. But while we were busy solving murder mysteries in the fog, something was brewing in the city. Something louder, something flashier, something stylish. Now, after the success of Persona 4, fans were ready to see what's next. We were primed and we were waiting. And then we waited. And we waited. And we waited some more. Persona 5 was originally announced for PlayStation 3 with a release date of around winter 2014. I was a different person in 2014. The world was a different place. But then the delay started. 2015, then 2016. It became the Half-Life 3 of JRPGs. Atlus was rebuilding their entire engine. They were transitioning to the PS4 because they were originally working on it for the PS3. They were trying to capture lightning in a bottle twice. And honestly, I'm glad they took their time because when it finally dropped in 2017, the bottle didn't just have lightning. It had a god tier jazz fusion soundtrack and enough red paint to cover the moon. Look at this guy. Look at his cape. Look at his chin. This is Suguru Kamoshida. He's a gym teacher. And within the first hour of the game, you don't just dislike him. You want to physically delete him from reality. This is why Persona 5 has the strongest start in the series. Persona 3 takes 20 hours to get going. Persona 4 is a slow burn mystery. Persona 5 though, it throws you into prison, accuses you of a crime you didn't commit, and shows you a villain who is so realistically disgusting you'll stay up until 4 a.m. just to see his change of heart. It's personal, it's gritty, it's about shitty adults in power, and the kids who are tired of their rules. It's the ultimate rebellion fantasy, and it hooked 10 million people before the first semester was even over. Now, Persona 5 didn't just sell well. It colonized the internet. It made jazz cool again. It made menus literally just a pause screen. The most stylish thing in gaming, it put Joker in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is the equivalent of getting a knighthood from Nintendo. For a lot of people, myself included, this wasn't just their first Persona game. It was their first JRPG. It stripped away the nerd stigma and replaced it with something that is really cool. It's the reason your cousin who plays Call of Duty suddenly knows who Morgana is. The ending of the game got a lot of hate from the fans. So Atlus decided to do the Atlus move and they came out with Persona 5 Royal. Because Atlus wouldn't be Atlus if they didn't sell you the same 100-hour game twice with an extra 30 hours of content tacked on at the end. Look at this guy. He's a counselor. He gives you snacks. He's the nicest guy in the world and somehow he's the best antagonist in the whole franchise. Royal didn't just add content, it fixed pacing, added a grappling hook, and gave us a third semester, which is basically a 20-hour philosophical debate about whether happiness is a trap. Masterpiece. And then the ports. The port beginning era ended in 2022. It's on Switch, it's on PC, it's on Game Pass, it's on your smart fridge, it's everywhere, and the crazy part is, it still sells. Here's the reality. We're getting a Persona 4 revival because of Persona 5. We got the masterpiece that is Persona 3 Reload because of Persona 5. This game was the financial engine that turned Atlus from a struggling niche developer into a global powerhouse. And I'm honestly glad that every dollar spent on a Morgana plushie is a dollar that is funding Persona 6. Persona 5 proved that the high school formula wasn't just a gimmick, it was a gold mine. It set a bar so high that Persona 6 is currently sweating in the corner trying to figure out how to be even more stylish. Here we are, 30 years. 22 million copies sold, 3 world-shattering masterpieces in a row, and now we're staring at a blank green wall. The green era, that's been a rumor for years. Are we finally getting a game about the toxic side of social media? I spent 30 minutes telling you about the history as spoilers free as possible. But the truth is, the most important part is, it just hasn't happened yet. It's gonna happen soon, and Atlus knows this because Persona 6 is on the horizon. There's no way they're gonna spend more years. It's already been 10 years since Persona 5 came out. Persona 6 can be green, purple, it doesn't matter what color it is. It just needs to identify and resonate to a group of people the same way that Persona 3, 4, and 5 have been. I just wanna say thank you guys so much for watching. This was a really long video, so I'm glad you were able to handle this whole thing. I hope the pacing was okay. If you have any comments about anything that has to do with the story, please leave a comment down below. I'll definitely be reading them. You'll see me in there. I have literally nothing else to do. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and enjoy this clip.